know that you think you're the coolest one in town, but to me you'll be much cooler when you're 6 feet underground. Some of us are crazy, some are smart and brave. Well, it doesn't really matter, we all end up in the grave. All my favorite people are dead. All my favorite people are dead. I'm saying all my favorite people are dead. All my favorite people are dead. All my favorite people are dead. All my favorite people are dead.
Well, hello there, breathers,
And welcome back
to another fabulous episode of
All My Favorite People Are Dead. She's Shannon Butler.
And she's Sue Teresi.
And here we are,
Here we are.
talking about history
And dead people.
and herstory.
herstory. That's
Herstory?
very appropriate.
You
'cause
like that?
We're
Yeah.
talking about a
We're
woman
talking
today.
about a woman.
Yeah.
Herstory and history and laughter and dead people
Dead people.
who made an impact.
Oh, you betcha.
Not just any dead people. We can't talk about just any dead people.
Right. I mean,
talk-
sometimes you could live a life and not do anything, and therefore you're not that interesting to talk about.
And we won't talk about them.
Right.
But we always take suggestions. If
do.
there's somebody that you think we should talk about,
We'll talk about them.
we'll talk about them.
Yeah. You got to tell us why, though.
Right.
Like, why?
Can't be like
should
your
we
Uncle Joe from Idaho that you hardly know.
Right. That's it. Yeah,
No,
nah.
somebody interesting that made a positive or even a negative impact.
Yeah. We like to talk about dead people who are glad are dead.
Yeah, some of them were
they were
glad.
assholes.
Yeah, they were just evil, awful people that we teach you about so that we don't repeat their mistakes.
Indeed.
Or dead people that really did good stuff that you can learn and be just like them, only breathing.
That's right. I want to say thanks to the lovely folks who attended my lecture last night who said that they enjoyed listening to the podcast.
Ooh, yay.
So that was very nice.
Yay.
So thanks, guys. I
People are
appreciate it.
listening.
People are listening. They are.
Excellent.
They are.
Excellent.
So share with your friends. Tell them that you've got a good podcast that you're enjoying.
Right.
And,
Your living friends, your dead friends
yeah.
probably won't listen to us.
They won't.
But if
no.
you have any breathing friends,
Yeah.
we would like them to listen.
Absolutely. And we
Okay.
would love your comments and thoughts. You can always leave comments and...
Engage with us.
Yeah,
Let
for
us
sure.
know what you think.
Exactly.
So who you want to talk about today, Shan?
Aha! So we, given the fact that we've all been through quite a lot in the past 3 years or so
that.
now.
Oh, that.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it would be an interesting time to talk about this particular person.
Okay.
I think the debate over public health concerns has been one that we've all kind of had to deal with at some point
Absolutely.
recently.
Oh, my gosh.
And we've had to deal with people who we know, people who are strangers who don't give a shit about public health. There's a lot of that going on.
Yep.
The battle for public health versus individual freedom,
Okay.
of course, is
Right.
something
Where
that's
do we
been-
draw the line?
Right. But it's nothing new, believe it or not. Should we force people to wear masks? Should we force them to quarantine? Should we force them to get a vaccine? Believe it or not.
You have to tell them to wash their hands. Apparently,
Well.
nobody knew to wash your hands
That's
until
nothing
COVID.
New. That's nothing new either.
No, you ever see the signs in the rest?
yeah.
Employees must wash hands,
Everyone should wash
and
hands.
the rest of us can be pigs.
No. Believe it or not, these battles have been fought before in one way or another, long before the time of COVID. Let us talk about the life and times of Mary Mallon,
Mary Mallon, who's that?
a.k.a. Typhoid Mary.
Oh no. Oh, she sounds like a barrel full of monkeys. Oh, Typhoid
She's a barrel
Mary.
full of bacteria. Is
Wow.
What she is. Yeah. Okay. So
I'm gonna get grossed out with this, aren't I?
I think you might.
I
You
might start itching
get
or
grossed
coughing.
out.
Okay.
You run to the bathroom and wash your hands immediately.
Okay. I'm just gonna drink some Clorox while
No.
we're talking. Oh, no? Okay,
No.
hand wash?
Hand washing.
Okay,
is fine,
okay.
yeah.
I'm gonna let me find a bottle of hand wash,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna swallow it now.
No, I meant you can
Oh,
wash your
I'll wash
hands.
my hand. Oh,
Yeah.
I should wash my hands?
Yes.
Yeah.
Frequently. Okay.
Really? Thanks. Thanks for that update. I never knew about that.
Yeah, no, I know. Okay.
All right, here we go.
Here we go. We'll start from the beginning.
Oh, goody.
Mary Mallon was born in Ireland on September 23rd, which tomorrow is her birthday.
Oh, boy, I didn't
Right?
send the card.
Ah!
Do you want to send the card?
We can put one on her gravestone.
Okay, let's do that.
All right. September 23rd.
Wait, I'll put one on some Kleenex. We'll write with
There
marker
you
on
go.
Kleenex.
We should put a basket of hand sanitizer and Kleenex,
and
at her
and
grave.
cough drops and just drop it off. Here you go, Mary.
And masks. Anyway, September 23rd, 1869. Okay. Her mother might have had typhoid when she was pregnant with Mary, but there's really no way to actually document that. There's no way to know. We don't know. That's a theory that's been floating around.
So she was born with typhoid?
Perhaps. Well, there's no way to determine that. But
Did her mother die of typhoid?
Her mother did die young, so
Jeez.
perhaps there's not a lot known about her mother and father.
There's not a lot known about typhoid back then either.
Right.
I'm sure.
Exactly. Now she was born in County Tyrone in Ireland, and the name of her town, wait for it, Cookstown, which is very appropriate given Mary's choice of occupation.
Oh no.
Her parents were John and Catherine Mallon, and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of information about them and what they did in life. We're not really sure. They might have died when Mary was young. I know her mom died when she was young. I'm not sure about her father. But either way, she appears to have immigrated to America when she was 15 years old in 1883.
Okay.
And she lived for a time with her relatives, her aunt and uncle, who apparently were already in this country. So can you imagine you're getting on a ship? You're 15 years old.
Yeah.
You're getting on a ship pretty much by yourself. You're a teenager. You cross this giant ocean. You come to
a new country.
a big, scary city, right?
Yeah.
This is the time before smartphones, before Google Maps. You know, it's like I can remember researching my trip to when I was just going on vacation to London and looking at Google Street Views.
Oh, sure.
Just between my hotel and the nearest underground station, just so I would know what the hell I was doing.
Familiarize.
Yeah. And I could recognize places. I can't imagine in the 19th century coming.
I do that with Disney. I have an app on my phone, and I'm like, okay, we could eat here, and look, there's only like a 10-minute wait at this ride, and you familiarize yourself, know before you go.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So it must have been terrifying for her.
Yeah.
So now, very little is known about her early employment, but this much is true. A female Irish immigrant coming to New York in the 1880s, she wasn't making a lot of money, whatever she was doing.
Her options were limited.
Very limited. She was probably doing whatever she could to stay afloat, essentially.
Yeah.
She very likely served as a domestic servant, and in her early days. Now, there was 81% of single Irish women who came to this country at this time period ended up doing this sort of thing. Yeah. Which is not an easy labor by any means, right? You generally lived and worked in your employer's home, in a servant wing, of course, and you were the first to rise in the morning and begin work at 6 a.m., and you were on your feet all day and cleaning and cooking and whatever, and then you're pretty much the last one to go to bed at night. So it's a lot. And you did this generally every day until you died. Yay, the American dream.
Oh, okay. Boy. Streets are paved with gold.
Oh, yeah. Beginning in the summer of 1900, Mary got a job working as a cook. Now, cooks made a lot more money.
And you said she was from Cooksville?
Yeah, Cooksville, Ireland.
Talk about irony, right?
Yeah, it's very appropriate, yeah. So cooks made a lot, at least double what a general domestic servant would make.
Okay.
So if you got a job as a cook, you were doing pretty well.
Okay.
So she started working as a cook for a New York family in their summer home in Long Island. Now, she would be hired out periodically through an agency, right? And rich families were looking for cooks. They'd go to the agency. Mary became very popular amongst wealthy families. She was famous for an ice cream dessert that she made. It was like vanilla ice cream and peaches, and everybody loved it. So she was...
Okay. Sounds good.
She got a lot of jobs.
Okay.
Now, we start to see cases of typhoid fever begin pretty soon. Now, what is typhoid fever exactly? Glad you asked. Typhoid is a disease that is caused by salmonella bacteria. What the hell was that noise?
My neighbors are putting in a pool.
Oh, your neighbors are putting in a pool.
For the past 3 weeks.
Oh,
or they're digging graves like I usually do in my backyard.
Oh.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
If you guys are hearing weird noises in the background, there's work going on across the street.
There's been work like since forever, and yeah.
That's weird. Okay, anyway. So typhoid fever is caused by a salmonella bacteria. Symptoms generally start about a week or more after one has been exposed, which makes it tricky to track down the source of, especially if you're on the go a lot.
Yeah.
Generally, you feel weak, so there's abdominal pain, constipation, headaches. Sometimes the symptoms can get pretty severe. Back in the 19th century, 1 in 5 people with the illness would die.
That's terrible.
So it's not good.
No antibiotics,
Right.
no
Yeah.
anything.
and no real proper understanding of it.
Right.
Typhoid is spread by eating or drinking food or water contaminated with the feces of an infected person, right?
Or like E. coli, right? You can get E.
Yeah.
coli the same way. And it's just, ugh.
So when you have someone...
Wash your hands!
Yeah, wash your hands. When you have someone who's infected with typhoid who's preparing food, the chances of you getting typhoid are ridiculously high, especially in the days before germ theory, right? Germ theory was universally accepted pretty late in the 19th century or more early 20th century. People didn't start washing their hands regularly for a while.
They didn't understand things
Right.
they couldn't see.
Right.
Those, those little bacteria things that you see under a microscope?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't see it.
I didn't see it. What are you talking about? Yeah.
Yeah.
So now during her time in this Long Island summer home, at least one male visitor came down with typhoid fever within a week after arriving. But nothing ever came from this. Nobody ever investigated it. In the winter of 1901-1902, she was working for another wealthy family in the city, and this time the family's laundress came down with fever, but again, no investigation followed into it. When she was employed by a New York lawyer named J. Coleman Drayton in 1902 to work as a cook for his family of 4, plus his servants, which were 5 altogether, including Mary, the Draytons and their servants were getting ready to head to Maine for the summer. And just before they left, the footman became ill. And very quickly, it then took over the entire family.
Snowballed. Everybody's dropping like flies.
7 of the 9 people in the household, in the party, became ill with typhoid. Only Mary and her employer, Mr. Drayton, escaped the sickness, strangely enough. She actually stayed on to assist the family as a nurse, and Mr. Drayton gave her a bonus for her troubles. In this case, an investigation was done, and they concluded that since the footman was the first to get sick, he clearly brought it into the house.
Of course.
However, that is incorrect, and I'll tell you why in a bit. In 1904...
Because it was already there.
In 1904, Mary got a job working for Mr. Henry Gelsey. Now, in this situation, the house where the servants lived was separate from the family. So they weren't in the same house. They had a separate servants' home.
Servant quarters.
Yes. Yeah, well, separate house entirely.
A whole house?
Yeah, just for the servants.
Oh, like I have.
Yeah, exactly. A shed in the backyard.
Yeah. No, that's the doghouse.
Okay. Now, when 4 new servants arrived, they were hired after Mary had been there for a while. They all came down with typhoid a week after getting their jobs.
She's cooking for everybody, isn't she?
Huh?
Is she cooking for everybody?
She's cooking for everybody, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole family, the staff.
And they're all dropping like flies.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. There you go.
Now, again, an investigation was done, and this time they determined that since the laundress came down with it first, that means she must have brought it in the house.
So it wasn't Colonel Mustard with the candelabra in the
nope.
library.
They're getting it all wrong.
Yeah,
They're getting these
Typhoid Mary in the kitchen.
But they don't know
with
that
the
yet.
bacteria, you know.
Nope. Now, summer of 1906, Charles Henry Warren hired Mary to serve at his family's Oyster Bay estate. This is a big estate.
Oyster Bay's
Charles Warren's got a ton of money. He's a big one.
Prestigious.
Big banker guy.
Yeah.
11 people in his household ended up contracting typhoid after Mary was hired. 11. Including Charles' wife and 2 daughters. Several servants were infected, even the gardener got it. An investigation was done, and it was believed that workers who had been cleaning the water tank for the household must have brought in the illness on their shoes.
On their shoes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Incorrect.
Okay.
Also,
so everywhere she goes, people get sick, but they're blaming somebody else.
They're blaming
other than
somebody
her.
else. Yeah. It's
Nobody
never her.
sees a pattern yet.
Not yet. Wait a second.
Oh.
Winter of 1907. Now we're 7 years into this, and several employees. Mr. Walker Bowen hired Mary to cook in his home at number 688 Park Avenue. 2 months after her arrival, the chambermaid became ill. Then Mr. Brown's little daughter became ill and died.
Oh.
That's when they sent in the big guns to investigate this situation.
So now people are dying.
People are dying, yeah.
Oh.
George Soper, an American sanitation engineer.
Ha! His name is Soap.
Soper. And he's a sanitation engineer. Perfect.
It don't get no better than that.
I know, right? It's very nice.
You can't make this stuff up.
You can't. You really, history is great like that.
It's so fun.
So he was brought in to find the culprit. Now, why were all the previous investigations incorrect in their findings?
They didn't know any better?
Well, let me tell you why.
Okay.
Until this time period.
Tell me why. Sorry.
Until this time period, there had been no cases, and I mean 0 cases, of people who were positive for typhoid, yet not showing any symptoms. If you had typhoid, you were sick. But Mary was positive for typhoid and not sick at all. So nobody thought for a second that there was such a thing as an asymptomatic typhoid patient.
So she's been walking around with this disease.
Just walking around.
For years.
And not knowing.
Still being for years?
For years. Now, since Mary Mallon had never been sick at any of these households, nobody suspected her to be the carrier. Because she was never sick. She was just totally healthy.
Why would they? Yeah.
Doing her work. No problem.
She's fine.
Now, George Soper was the one who bothered to look into every previous typhoid case in the area in these wealthy households. Like, typhoid was all over the city and, in poor situations. He's only looking at the wealthy households. And the only common denominator that he finds is Mary. He's like, shit, she's working in all these households. This is very strange. So,
wow.
In March of 1907, George Soper appeared unannounced at number 688 Park Avenue, where Mary had been working, and he walked right into the kitchen and said something along the lines of, "You, madam, are spreading disease and death with your cooking.
Put down that carrot!"
Yeah, I will need a sample of your blood, urine, and feces to examine in my laboratory. Mary stood there in her apron, looked this guy up and down, and said, "Fuck off!" You like that?
Yeah, that's good.
She kicked him out of the house. Literally kicked him out of the house.
I mean, in a way, you can't blame us. Somebody comes in accusing, "I'd like some of your poop, please."
Right.
Especially
the Victorian era,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, right.
This is like mind-blowing. And also, she's like, "I'm not sick. What the fuck is your problem?"
Right. Leave me alone.
So I can understand why she would curse at him and kick him out of the house.
Right.
Now, I don't know if she said "fuck off" exactly. She might have, because
I would like to think she did, and in that accent.
I mean, I would have.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely.
Well, you would have said that anyway.
Fuck off.
What's for dinner?
Fuck off. You get what I serve you. Actually, there were reports that she actually did curse at him and, attack him with a fork, and I love that idea. I'm like, yes. There's actually an episode of Drunk History where they have
her. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good. Anyway, I think she did. I think she went after him with a giant fork and said, "Fuck off. I'm not going anywhere with you."
You can't blame her.
No, you can't. No, that's
how would she know she's sick?
Yeah, absolutely.
That blows you. First of all, some strange guy's coming in asking for your body fluids.
Right.
And second of all, she doesn't even know she's sick.
Yeah. Yeah, she's like, "What? No, you're out of your mind."
Okay.
So Soper has to go get backup. Now, he reached out to an official city health inspector, and her name was Dr. Sarah Josephine Baker. Fun fact, Dr. Baker was born right here in Poughkeepsie.
Ooh.
This is another awesome dead person, actually. She has a fascinating story all by herself. But Dr. Baker was born in 1873, and when her brother and her father died in 1890 from, say it with me now, typhoid fever, she changed her plans from attending Vassar College. That was going to be her goal. And then she's like, "I need to be a doctor." So she goes to school to be a doctor instead. Aww. And she was one of the first female, the first female city health inspectors.
Huh.
So she came to the home where Mary was working. And again, Mary told her to fuck off. So she's like, "You doctors don't know shit, because I've never been sick a day in my life." Right? So Dr. Baker called in the police, and they forced Mary out of the home and off to a hospital. So they test her blood, her urine, her shit. They ask her, "Now, Mary, be honest. Do you wash your hands after you take a shit?" And then Mary's like, "No, why would I do that?"
Oh, jeez. That's when there's no plumbing.
Right, yeah, there's an outhouse I gotta go use.
Yeah, no, I might if I had plumbing. I might not. No, who does that?
No.
That's disgusting.
Wash my hands? Come on.
What is this wash your hands you speak of?
So they ship her ass off to North Brother Island, which is where they would quarantine people with contagious illnesses back then. And there, they would continue to give her every kind of test. They would test every kind of fluid that came out of this woman. They would test, everything. They discovered that she was 100% positive for typhoid. So since this is the first time that they had discovered a person who was not sick.
Asymptomatic for the disease.
Yes, but definitely getting other people sick, right? They decide it's best to keep her in quarantine.
You think?
Yes. So they put her in a little cottage.
And give her some soap.
So, yeah. They put her in a cottage all to herself on this island, and they give her a little fox terrier as a companion, and she stays there for the next 2 years.
The fox terrier?
Her and the fox terrier. Now, personally, if you're going to give me a private cottage and my own little dog and free food and drink for the rest of my life, I'm good. I don't see the problem here, honestly.
She's isolated.
She's isolated, but she's got a dog. I mean, that's fine with me.
Dog and a couple of books and some
good.
coffee.
On an island in a cottage?
Yeah,
let's go.
That's true.
I'm good.
That's true.
I'm not complaining, but she was, so she didn't like it.
Let me out of here! Yeah. I want to go make everyone sick.
Cook.
I need to cook.
So apparently she didn't like it, so she sued for her release in 1909. The papers immediately jumped on this thing, and of course the journalists are the ones who end up giving her the nickname Typhoid Mary. So we see it in 1909 for the first time. In the June 20th issue of The American, which was a newspaper, one of William Randolph Hearst's newspapers, right? We see a famous cartoon of a woman wearing an apron, standing over a stove, breaking little skulls into a pan like eggs. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
It's a great image.
Oh,
great image. And it really sets the tone for this woman. However, there was a strong feeling of sympathy for her, as many people believe that her freedom was being violated. Even though some of the cartoons in these papers painted her in a bad way, many of the articles showcased a more human story that really bothered many Americans, that someone could be held like this against their will, like a prisoner, and she really hadn't done anything intentionally wrong, right? Now, in one case, her story had won the heart of a gentleman from Michigan, a guy named Reuben Gray, who wrote a letter to the health department and said, "I will happily take Mary here to Michigan if you will only pardon her and she will agree to be my wife." Though he did have to add, one thing she should be made aware of before we tie the bound is that I have been insane. But it was over 3 years ago, and I was pronounced cured then.
Okay, wait. Let me digest this.
Okay.
So this guy who has a history of being insane decides he wants to marry the carrier of a serious disease without ever meeting her. Okay, sounds good.
It's like, honey, you're not.
Okay.
You're still.
He's not insane.
You're still
he wants
insane.
To marry the sick lady.
You must still be insane. Yeah.
You think?
Yeah. It's like what? Okay.
I would have arranged it. I would have arranged for him to come to the cottage with her and the dog, and been like, okay, you guys can just hang out here forever.
Yeah, I think I'd rather stay on the island by myself with the doggy. Thank you.
Than with the crazy guy?
Yeah, no crazy guys.
She can cook for him all day long. He won't last.
Just me and a dog.
After lunch, he's dead.
After lunch, he's dead.
That's it. That won't last.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mary, make me a,
Make me a sandwich,
yeah,
bitch.
Yeah, I was just going to say, get in the kitchen, make me a sandwich, bitch. Oh, you're dead. There you go. Oops. You're here to make it till dinner.
You want some ice cream, honey?
No time for dessert.
Wow.
Okay, so I don't see a problem here.
Yeah, no, right? Okay.
Crazy guy is gone.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Right.
Typhoid lady's hanging with the dog. Yeah. Problem solved.
There we go. No.
But nobody's eating at Mary's house.
No.
Having a potluck. Want to invite Mary?
No. We're good.
What's Mary bringing?
No. We're good.
Death. Mary's bringing death.
Now, the judge in the New York Supreme Court sympathized with Mary. He did.
I guess we all do to an extent.
To an extent.
You do. You joke around, but you feel bad for this lady.
Bad.
However,
I don't want to die.
However, she is a public, I don't even want to say public nuisance. She's a health issue.
He referred to her as a menace to society.
Yes.
Only because of this illness, right.
But that would be a menace to society.
Right. Yes.
All these people, she's leaving a trail of sick and dead people. What do you call it? I mean, I don't want to compare it to a serial killer.
No, because she's not doing it intentionally.
It's not intentional.
It's still happening, right? Yeah.
It's still happening, but even though she didn't mean it intentionally, people are dying.
People are dying, yes, indeed. So the judge sends her ass back to the island, right?
Can't blame him either.
No,
I mean, this is a no-win situation.
Yeah. So a year goes by, and a new health commissioner takes over, a guy named Eugene Porter. And he decides it's not fair to hold Mary anymore.
Oh.
So he says, look, Mary, listen, as long as you promise never to take another cooking job, right? And you wash your fucking hands.
Oh, wow.
We will release you from the island. Okay?
Okay.
So she's like, you got it.
Sounds fair.
Absolutely.
That's fair.
I will not cook
That's
anymore.
the only, she doesn't have to wear masks or anything.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
Don't cook. Don't cook for anybody.
Don't cook for anybody, wash your hands.
Okay.
That's fair.
So she's released on February 19th, 1910. Now, when she gets out, she finds a job as a laundry lady.
Okay.
But that paid less than half of what she had made as a cook. So she's not doing well financially. She was making $50 a month as a cook, which is a lot of money back then for a domestic servant anyway. Now she makes less than half of that as a laundry lady, and eventually, this doesn't last long. She's like, fuck it. So she changed her name to Mary Brown, and she got a job cooking at hotels and spas and jumped around quickly from job to job so that the authorities couldn't catch up to her.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not. And she's still making people
Wait, she changed
sick.
her name from Mary, Typhoid Mary to like Mary Cholera.
Mary Mallon
yeah.
to Mary Brown.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought now she was, instead of Typhoid Mary, she's Cholera Mary
no.
or
She's still got typhoid.
Malaria Mary or,
she's
okay.
She's still got typhoid.
Just,
she's cooking.
and she knows.
She knows.
that she's contagious.
She's also not washing her hands. She's like, I need to wash my hands.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to say it is intentional.
Now it is.
Because now she knows, and now, so let me guess.
Well, she, in her mind, and she said this even up to her death, I don't have typhoid. She kept saying it. She didn't believe in the science. Imagine that, not believing in science. She was like, I don't have typhoid. They don't
because
want
she's not sick.
Right.
But all the tests prove conclusive.
Right.
That not only does she have it, she's infectious.
Yeah.
And a menace to the public.
Right.
And she says nope.
Nope.
And still won't wash her hands because what's with the hand washing?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Just wash your hand. I mean, that's not a big request.
No.
That's not a big ask.
No.
Wash your hands.
You take a shit, you wash your hands.
You would think that's common knowledge.
I would think, but apparently not.
And this is what year now?
So now she's leaving a trail of typhoid victims as she moves across the city.
And she knows this.
Yeah. And finally, in 1915...
15. So we're up to 1915.
Yeah, so it's been 15 years of making people sick. Yeah. With a short 2-year break there when she was on an island. Your cats are causing some serious...
Not the cats, that's the fridge.
Oh, that's the fridge. Okay.
It's haunted.
All right.
Actually, someone's in the freezer. They're trying to get out.
Oh, that makes sense. All right. So in 1915, she got a job, get this, at the Sloan Maternity Hospital, where she's cooking.
I can't even.
Yeah.
So now she's not only she's not cooking in private homes.
Nah.
Where she's making 1 or 2 people sick.
Right.
Now she's cooking in hospitals.
In a fucking hospital. So where...
Okay, how is that not murder?
I know, it's starting to get
Now that's just wrong on somebody. And this is why you can't let her out.
Yeah. So she's at the hospital.
They didn't monitor her.
No.
They let her out. They said, Mary, be a good girl.
Yeah.
Wash your hands, don't cook, and they never followed through with her.
They didn't follow, no. And after she changed her name, they lost track of her, right? So at Sloan Maternity Hospital, when she started working very quickly, there was an outbreak of typhoid fever, which quickly broke out, infecting 25 people and killing 2. So yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah. The chief obstetrician, Dr. Edward Cragen, called our boy George Soper and asked him to help him with the investigation. So George goes around the hospital. He's like, how can this be? You guys keep everything clean. How are you getting typhoid? What the hell's going on? So he was able to identify Mary from the other workers' descriptions of her and also by her handwriting. And George was like, motherfucker.
She's here.
She's here, right? So again, she's chased down and arrested. This time, nobody is sympathetic. Like, nobody.
I'm not sympathetic.
Right, no. The press, medical journals alike, both had nasty things to say about Mary.
Gosh.
We also have to remember at this time, there's very intense feelings about immigrants bringing disease into the country, right?
Yeah. Oh, this shines a bad light, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's not good. She put immigrants backwards like 30
All
years.
she had to do was wash her hands
That's
to
it.
avoid all this,
Wash
right?
your hands and stop cooking at jobs. Yeah, that's it. Just
Wow.
cook for yourself.
She
and
could have
nobody
led a
else.
normal life, made less money,
Yeah.
but not killed anybody.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So
Wow.
the newspapers, like I said, were really nasty. Single Irish women would get even worse rap than they already had.
Of course.
So this is all working against everybody, yeah.
Including the dead people.
But the fact that she kept refusing to wash her hands, she refused to obey the health department and not cook for the public again, and it seemed like she had no respect for authority or the lives of others.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So this time her quarantine was permanent.
Okay. Well, you can't blame anybody on that.
No.
They gave her a fair deal.
They did.
And she screwed it up.
She did. She really fucked up. So she lived at North Brother Island for 23 years, where she mostly sat around and did the occasional odd jobs at the hospital there. Not cooking, though. Not cooking.
You would hope not.
Don't fucking touch the food, Mary.
Gee.
Anyway.
Who's making sandwiches?
Yeah,
not Mary.
Jesus, no. Anyway, she suffered a stroke in 1932 and never fully recovered, and she died on November 11th, 1938 at the age of 69. There may or may not have been an autopsy performed by George Soper after her death. Supposedly, he went digging around for her gallbladder just to see if he could still find typhoid bacteria in there, and apparently he did. Some sources say he did. Some sources say, nah, that didn't happen.
So that stayed with her, the disease.
Yeah.
Not only stayed with her, but she was contagious.
Yeah.
For the duration of her life and asymptomatic.
Yeah.
That's
wild.
Crazy in and of itself,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah. But you know what? Studies have proven that there were actually others like her at the time, but because she was an Irish immigrant, she was specifically focused on in this case and made a big deal of. Yeah.
I think she was specifically focused on because she was killing people.
She was killing people.
She was in a position to literally kill people.
Yeah.
Maybe the other people had it and they were asymptomatic. Mm-hmm. Maybe they washed their hands and they didn't cook other people's food, so it wasn't a big deal.
Right.
So you can have a disease like that, or at least then, for your entire life.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
And still be contagious.
Yeah.
That's scary crap. That scares me.
So anyway, her remains were cremated and she's buried at St. Raymond's Cemetery in the Bronx. And that is the story of Mary Mallon, Typhoid Mary.
What have we learned?
Wash your fucking hands.
Yeah.
If you're sick, don't go to work.
Don't prepare anybody's food.
Yeah. And if the doctors
Consider other
say
people.
you should not be around other people, then don't be around other people. Very simple. Don't kill people. Okay?
Don't go around making other people sick.
Yeah. Wear a fucking mask.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you have it.
That's terrible.
I know. It's a wild story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. There you have it, breathers.
And if you have the chance to be given a private cottage on an island with a cute little dog and free food, take it. Just fucking take it.
Take it.
Honestly, I would.
Take it.
In a
I
second.
would.
I'd be
I would. Okay.
I'm out of here. See ya, suckers.
Maybe I'll just tell people
Yeah.
we have a disease. You and I are very
Yeah.
contagious,
We
and
are.
they could give us a little dog, and we could just stay on an island.
Well, a cat for you, a dog for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm down.
All right. Cool.
All right.
Let's do it.
And there you have it, breathers.
And thank you for listening
To yet another fabulous, crazy episode of All My Favorite People Are Dead. See you, breathers.
All my favorite people are dead. All my favorite people are dead. I said it all.